one and all, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Patton, and as always, we're joined by Ethan Daffy, and today we are reviewing tonight's win, Port Adelaide v Carlton at Adelaide Oval. Final scores were Port Adelaide 10 goals 11, 71 to Carlton 15 goals 11, 107, 36-point win. Now, to the viewers who are watching this on YouTube, you can probably see Daffy's camera right now, and you're probably wondering where he is right now. He's in the toilet. Now, you're probably wondering why he's in the toilet. He's in the toilet because he fucking flew up to Adelaide Oval today to watch his game. I got a message from him last night being like, you know what? There might be a bit of plans tomorrow, and I might actually be flying up to the game. I'm like, is this guy serious? And he actually flew up. And I'm going to be honest. I am pissed about it because I am jealous of him because I would love to do it. But first things first, boy, that would have been an incredible experience. How are you, mate?
No, I'm good, mate. It was like heading into the game, we're both confident. Let's be real. We're confident most weeks, but I just felt like this week we had that four-quarter effort last week against the Suns, a pretty good performance. We put together quite a comfortable lead last week and got it done. Without, real issue in a sense. I feel like tonight's game is very similar. We couldn't just break away yet from the Suns last week, and tonight we couldn't break away from the Power at some stages. They were doing pretty well to hold us close. But, gee, man, I'll tell you what, there is nothing better than a Carlton navy blue roar, because it doesn't matter where you are, Patto. That's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of it, because we're in bloody Adelaide. And it's a mighty roar, like it's an MCG down the bloody Carlton members, pocket down on the 50. It's just really, really good. And I feel like there's something about an away win that just a little bit extra. Feels like more than 4 points in my opinion. And it was a few Port fans left a little bit early. Yeah, there was 15 minutes to go and they were leaving. Yeah, 3 goals down. But they knew the onslaught was coming, Patto. So credit to them for leaving before they saw the mighty Alex Chincotta put one through the big sticks.
Well, I'm hoping at the game you gave him a little bit of a no, because that's what I would have done. But I probably would have been thrown out of the stadium because they would have been angry with me. So it's a good point to touch on the overall, like the domination in that last quarter, and to see the Port fans kind of make their way out of the stadium pretty early. It's always good to see that, especially as a away side. Now, I've been to 3 games away in my life as an interstate. I know that you've been to a few games now, Dave Boy. How many interstate games have you been to now?
4.
And success rate?
3 wins.
3 wins, 1 loss.
3 in a row, yeah.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. So I know that one of the games that the loss that you went to was, of course, the Adelaide one in 2022.
Yeah.
But did you go to the Port Adelaide game as well?
Nah.
That was 2021, I think it was. Was that 2021?
Yeah, we got smashed. That was Murph's last name, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it was. It was too.
We got slaughtered.
I reckon that may have been COVID then. I don't reckon we were able to fly anyway.
It was like the back end of 2021 when we couldn't go.
Yes, it was too.
Yeah. And then it started happening again. And then David T got sacked.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. That was like ages ago.
Yeah, I know.
It was like 2021, and that was like it's only 3.5 years ago. Yeah, that's unbelievable. But so let's now swing straight into the initial thoughts, Daffy Boy. Now there's a few points that we're going to touch on, and I'm going to touch on the last thing that the most probably like the question that I'm going to throw to you before. I want to try and touch on that last. So obviously in the first half we were smashing the in the clearances in the first half. Halftime, I know we texted each other and we weren't angry about it because that was the only thing that we weren't doing right. That was the only thing, and that's another great thing where we can have another asset where we don't have to rely on clearances anymore, because it's also what they were saying on the commentary. They were saying that Port Adelaide have really found out Carlton's clearance game, and they seem on top of the game right now. But I'm like, we're still up by 12 points, mate.
Yeah.
And it seems like, I mean, I don't know about you, but on the TV, I was very much confident the whole game. Like I didn't really have that mindset of, I didn't really have that at all, which I usually would. But tonight it was just a different feeling. And I don't know if it was just because my expectations were quite low. Like obviously they're high, but like if we lose, oh well, it's a great side. But I just kind of had that comfortable feeling the whole game because we were playing well from the outset straight away. And we didn't really have a reason to be mad about that, or to be nervous about the game ahead. But unbelievable response in that second half, especially in the fourth quarter. I think it was a statement win to start things off. But also Carlton now move up to fourth on the ladder, which is great to see. We overtaken Melbourne, so now we're in the top four. But my question to you, Daffy Boy, do you think this is the most complete performance under Michael Voss?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's probably, I don't know. They're maybe in the back end of last year, there might have been a couple similar. You know, when we were beating some good teams late, maybe. But
Yeah.
in terms of really recently, I think this year definitely. If you look at it this year, for sure, for sure. Like you said, I completely agree with what you're saying. There was a close game for a majority, but I was trusting them because we were playing well. They deserved to win this game. You know, I'm not being biased, but they deserved it. In a sense where we were getting that reward in certain stages. I think in the third quarter, we touched on before we filmed, like it was just we just weren't breaking it open. I'm like, if we just keep doing this, the damn wall will bust. And what happened? The fucking wall busted in the last quarter. And it's good to see the commentators are kind of understanding now that we're not just the clearance team.
Yes.
And I'm looking at the stats in that second half. We've actually beat them in the clearance. We were 41-39 in the end. We killed them in that last quarter, clearance-wise. They couldn't run with us. They couldn't run with Cripps. They couldn't run with Walsh. Elijah Hollins. Oh, my God. But, yeah, I think your initial reports are spot on. And fourth spot, we'll worry about the ladder when it comes to, you know, round 20. We just got to win games each week. It'll sort itself out. We've got a big game next weekend, but let's just enjoy this because we've got the whole weekend of footy shows to consume with positivity about our football club. So it's good.
Yeah, no, well said. And obviously, you mentioned that about our next game, and it's obviously Essendon. And we now have a 10-day break, which it's good to have an extended break, 5-day break coming into this one. But Port Adelaide also had that, so I guess it didn't really have an advantage for either side. But now we have that 10-day break with Essendon also playing on the Saturday, I think it is, maybe the Sunday. Yeah, so I'm not sure if they would probably have an 8-day break if they're playing the Sunday. But I mean, overall, I think it's a great overall performance, and we can really head into next week against Essendon, who are so-called a top four side. I'm not sure about them yet, and I would just now I'm going to say this right now. I'm not able to go to the game because I'm working, but I am going to try to get it off because I'm like, it just after tonight, I'm like, I feel I need to go because I mean, like I obviously spoke to you last week or something, but about me not being able to go to a lot of games for the rest of the year because of work. I want to try and put some time into this and try and find a way to get to this game because I think it's going to be one that is much watched. Much watched. Must. What am I saying? Must watched. God, golly boy. I reckon. I've been having a few drinks tonight, David Boy, and I haven't even. So I don't know what's going on. But now let's swing straight into a few segments in the. I can see David Boy rubbing his hands together. There's a few segments tonight. Now we've probably added an extra one or two just because I think it's warranted. There's a few players that I feel like we need to touch on tonight. And the first thing first that we have to touch on is the two wild cards heading into the finals. And it's Alex Chincotta and Zach Williams. So Alex Chincotta, 13 disposals, 1 goal, tagged Zach Butters to an absolute tee. Zach Butters was like a golf ball on a tee, and Chincotta smacked him for a 800-meter bloody drive, mate. So I don't know about you, Daffy Boy, but Chincotta was absolutely fantastic tonight, and that is a wild card heading into finals. And I don't think he will get dropped for the rest of the season. I don't know if it's something that we work with moving forward with a genuine back, but you know what play he reminds me of it kind of reminds me of Andrew Carrazzo.
Oh, I was about to say that.
Don't you reckon?
Yeah, it's like he can tag, but he's got that kind of burst
Yes.
stoppages.
Yep.
Like a bit tonight, I just saw it a bit like it was that tag, like the mentality to tag, but also work off him.
Yep.
People go off 13 touches, but it's not about that. It's not about that.
Exactly
It's
right.
forcing Butters to defend.
Yeah.
And I don't think he defended well enough tonight, Butters,
Yeah.
especially the last quarter.
Yeah, and I reckon for the rest of the competition, it kind of showcases when you do put a bit of attention to Zach Butters. Who knows? You can
Yeah.
kind of see a bit of a shift in form in Zach Butters, and you see it with Tom Stewart as well from Geelong. Like when you do put a little bit of attention tonight into their game, but also Alelia tonight. We didn't really have a genuine tag on Alelia, but Zach Williams seemed to be at the start. But that kind of transition just because I think we kind of realised that Port were kind of going with Aliir versus Charlie Curnow, and we kind of I would assume that Bossy wanted to have Curnow and Ellie earlier one out because I think overall I think we definitely won that contest, but also Zach Williams. So Zach Williams, 12 disposals, 3 goals, 7 score involvements, and that shows why he's so crucial and so instrumental in this half forward to full forward sort of range. And Daff, what were your overall thoughts? Like, if you want to touch on anything else about Chincotta, go ahead. But Zach Williams as well. Are these the 2 wild cards heading into finals?
I think it's once. I think I probably have a counter of saying each episode an ace up our sleeve, and I think it's. I've tended to say it a lot, but they are, and it's to me it's a big coaching thing. It's a big coaching thing. It takes a lot of guts, even last week, to go, Chincotta, you're playing in the middle.
Yep.
You've been able to kill these forwards. You want to go on these mids and see how we go, and it worked.
He's done it straight away.
I mean, that's just like Chincotta, but Zach Williams could have kicked 5 tonight. He seriously could have. He missed that one square, but he just puts himself in the right spots, and he's got that zip and zap that we don't have really in that forward line, do we? Like, always isn't that kind of zip zap guy, is he? Like, he struggled tonight, but he's not that that zip zap, like real quick. That's the way we play, and Williams is kind of that perfect asset to have because he's a bit of a crazy footballer. The ball goes in there, all of a sudden he picks it up one hand and it chucks on the boot over his head and it's a goal. He's that type of player. And in finals, those types of players can run hot. They can run hot in a final. So it's really, really good to see from him, and also getting his confidence back.
Yeah.
After there was a few weeks there, I think it was the Collingwood game in particular where, a few people, and we were talking about it, put him up forward, can't even roll to play. And maybe this is his new role, Patto.
And you touched on there about the role about Zach Williams and what type of role he's playing right now. So the first player that came to my mind when you mentioned that was Zach Fisher from last year.
Yes.
About that crazy sort of, I mean, not crazy, but that maniac sort of play when you kind of get in that half forward and you see Zach Fisher's that zippies, like zip through that half forward. But I mean, this might be to a stretch. You don't really know because Zach Williams has had 2 or 3 games in that half forward role. But I think he offers more than Zach Fisher ever did in that role. I think Zach Fisher was more of that half forward role, and he wanted to be a midfielder, but he couldn't genuinely get that going. Now he's a halfbacker at North Melbourne. But I think Zach Williams is that player that adds a lot of his attributes suit this role, and it's something that. When we first saw it, I think it was against Sydney. When we first saw it, we were like, "Why are we putting him in a role where he hasn't played before?" But the week after, we're absolutely loving it. So this is another thing that Michael Voss has done where there may have been a bit of criticism at first, but he's stuck with it, and it's turned out to be great. So I think overall, it's really good to see Zach Williams. That's one thing. Zach Williams back playing senior footy. That's one thing that I love to see. Like there was a bit of criticism at the start of the year, being like he was starting a bit slow. But I'm like, it's Zach Williams. You just come off an ACL. Not every single player is as freakish to come straight back in and slot back in. And I still reckon he was solid.
Yeah, he was.
Had to go back to the VFL for 1 or 2 games. I don't even know what it was. I don't think he even played VFL, did he?
I don't reckon
he was managed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, he came back straight back in a new role.
Hmm.
He's playing that role to an absolute T. Would you want to touch on anything else for Zach Williams and Chincotta?
Yeah, I think your talk about Fisher and Williams is perfect. I think Williams is that kind of he's going to give you 2, 3 goals a week. The way he's kind of zapping around, he reads the ball well. How good is a chaos ball? When the ball got the last quarter, most of those goals were chaos,
Yeah.
and off the back of pressure. And Port couldn't do anything. Their tools are just standing there like loose, headless chooks down there. Like really were. They really were. The ball was just flying in there. I know probably the midfield to blame in terms of Port Adelaide in that last quarter, but once the ball hit the deck, like Williams was making sure that ball was getting down. It doesn't matter if you're on fucking Aaliyah or Zerk Thatcher or Radicalea. That ball gets to the ground, they're redundant. Those defenders are redundant and they cannot impact that play.
Well said. Now let's now move on to our next segment, Ducky Boy, and it's a certain player that we love. It's someone that we rate very highly as Carlton supporters. I think this guy is one of our most important players. I think he's one of the first players that is picked every single week, and it's Blake Acres. So 21 disposals, 12 kicks, one crucial goal in that fourth quarter, clutch goal to go back and nail that. 86 disposal efficiency, 7 score involvements again, 19 pressure acts once again. Now, my question to you, Daffy Boy, is Blake Acres the most underrated player in the competition right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. He's definitely one of our underrated players. I think we've got a few of them now, and I think it actually starts at the captain Cripps. I thought, quickly on the Cripps. I thought he wasn't superb in the first half, but he kind of built himself into the game in the second half, and that's what champions do. That's really good with him. And we'll touch on him later as I look down the sheet, of course. But onto Blakey boy. Like I say, I'm so pleased we have him. He's the winger with size who's got running capacity. I'm not sure how he's not on more than 300. What were Freo thinking? They offered him a 1-year deal after a career best year.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
He was actually good at Freo in that last year. It wasn't like he was coming off the shit year.
Wasn't he in the All Australian squad?
What? Yeah, he was. So it's quite unbelievable. I think his second year. I think he runs out. His contract ends next year. So I think we're re-signing him this year to get an extension. So that would be great. But yeah, he was phenomenal. And like you say on the thing, one crucial goal. And that was a brilliant one right in front of me. You could see it rocket through the goal all the way through. He's a good goal kicker, isn't he?
Yes.
He's got that knack for it. And then all of a sudden he's down the other end on the bloody goal line. That's just him and Ollie. They're just perfect for each other. They bring different strengths and they work well together. And it was a bag of chat conversation for years. Why the fuck is Jack Nunes and Lockie O'Brien on the wings? But it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
We missed finals 2022. It's probably because of that and some of those other positions. You know what I mean? It's just, you got to keep improving. And whatever happens this year, whether we win a premiership or not, we're going to have to add new players and add things, whether it's Haywood or whoever. And guys like Akers have added massively to this team, and he is phenomenal.
You mentioned there about those wingers in 2022. Yeah, Jack Nunes and another player that's one of my favourites, Lockie O'Brien. Before, and he was solid that year, but
yeah,
got to be honest, I'm quite glad that those players aren't really on our list anymore, and they aren't classified. They're actually off our list because I think there's a hell of a lot other players like Jackson Binns who can offer a lot more than what that. So now the question that I was going to ask you is, God, wouldn't Fremantle want Blake Acres right now? Seriously, like it's unbelievable how much they would want Blake Acres right now. Like I think they're lacking a winger.
They are. They've got, in terms of Freo, they roll a few guys through there. I think the one winger they have this year, which was a good pickup, was Sharp. I think he's a good pickup because he's got that pace. But I think the issue with having a guy like that is he works forward. He works forward of the ball, and they don't work hard enough back. Or the other winger, they're not in sync. And I feel like with Ollie and Akers, they kind of pick and choose. Like, I'll go, I'll go deep, and you stay back. And they switch. They're not like going, oh, Ollie, you're just going forward. Because Akers all of a sudden is on the goal line, and all of a sudden he's taking a mark inside 50.
Yeah.
So it's just fantastic, Patto, the whole conversation. And Freo, that's just a bad list management decision. And we've had plenty of them as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a big one, though. That's a big one. Because him and that team in Freo, he improves them massively.
Yeah. No, spot on. And I think another win that comes to my mind is James H. But it's another player that is he classified as a genuine winger. And Jeremy Sharp, like I mean, I do agree to a stretch, but he's not Blake Acres. Let's be real.
No.
He was a reject of Gold Coast, and he's great this year. Shout out to Jeremy Sharp, but he's playing great this year. But I don't think he will offer as much as what. And maybe Blake Acres was. Well, I was about to say maybe Blake Acres wanted more at Fremantle, but he moved to Carlton on less money. So it was something with Fremantle not offering much, and Blake Acres was like, well, I'm going to do a side that is probably better than you guys, can offer more and more security as well. So, no, I think Blake Acres is definitely one of those underrated players in the competition. And as you said then, one of the players in our own club. Like, I think a few players that come to my mind is Matt Cottrell to a stretch, Jordan Boyd, Paddy Cripps. I don't know how this guy is classified as underrated. He's the captain of the club and he's a Brownlow medalist. He's one of the best midfielders in the competition and he's still classified as underrated, which I love. Yeah. If he's still classified as underrated, I don't mind.
How? Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me. So, Dave Boy, let's now move on to, of course, our next segment. And, of course, is the captain Patrick Cripps and leading from the front. So 22 disposals, 2, once again, crucial fourth quarter goals that pretty much made us get over the line. Let's be completely honest right now. I think he was the reason why we got over the line. He was one of the main reasons why we got over the line in the end. And I think his 2 fourth quarter goals were massive. 11 score involvements, which is another conversation as to why he's so important in that midfield. 467 meters gained and 6 tackles. So, Daffy Boy, overall, what were your thoughts on Patrick Cripps's game as a whole, but especially in that fourth quarter, how he led from the front?
Yeah, I felt like he had 7 touches at halftime. So I thought they had then his number a little bit. That's not having a go. I just thought they played him really well. I think Willem Drew was on him, and he played really well on him. And yeah, I felt like he was going to do it. I felt like he was building into the game that third quarter. He made some good plays and just started to get his hands on it. A little bit more. And when Cripps gets his hand on it, he starts to think, get impact ahead of the ball. And that last quarter, that's one of the great last quarters. I'd say him, Walsh and Akers combined for 30 touches in the last quarter. And then Cripps obviously kicked those 2 riffers in the last quarter. That one on the run, oh baby, it was a fantastic moment on the ground. I'm sure Patto was jumping up and down at the Patto residence, but yeah, it's fantastic. And I read a tweet the other day, and we've had a lot of champions for this football club, and we're young, and this champion. I'm not going to speak on behalf of the other ones. Mum's always said there's always been fantastic players. But if we win a premiership with Patrick Cripps and he retires at 35, 36, he could go down as the greatest ever Carlton player. Seriously. When you think about it. 5 BNFs, Brownlow medal, and if he's a premiership captain with that, you think about it. I know we've got other champions, but in terms of same club, started from the club, ended at Carlton. One club player, he'll play 300 games. He's a gun. He's been through the shit and brought the club to the best. There's not like Carlton have had great eras, but we haven't had an era where we've been terrible for a long time. And he was a part of that. So that's just a question for you to think about, because he'll be top 3 all the time, for sure. And in terms of longevity, he's going to be playing the Carlton Footy Club for, 13 years, probably 14 years when he finishes up.
Yeah, it's a good point, isn't it? All right. Like, yeah, it's something that you don't really think about now.
you don't.
Because obviously he's still playing, but
Yeah.
yeah, I reckon right now, even if he doesn't win a premiership, I still reckon he's in the conversation, top 5.
For sure. Oh, easy.
Yeah. And
Yep.
you think about there, like, I think you said a really good point there about, like, he's a one club player. So that also makes a difference. Like Chris Judd obviously played two games, two clubs, at two clubs. Brendan Favola probably isn't in that conversation. Like he's one of
them. Yeah, he's up there.
He's up there. But like, I think we just got so many.
I think it's his impact. Like Juddy was fantastic. Cripps' impact is tenfold.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I know Juddy when he rocked up and everyone's like he changed the place. Cripps' impact is massive. Like massive on this football club. He's changed the direction. He could have gone, fuck off, I'm gonna leave. And we would have been, okay. You know, we were in a terrible place at a time. And he went, no, fuck it, I'm gonna re-sign for 6 years. And everyone went, oh, he's done. He worked his ass off. And if we win a premiership, gee, top 3 and almost the top dog.
Yeah. I reckon if he gets that accolade of premiership player, premiership captain, that's it. I think that's the conversation done. God,
I'm not discounting other players. I'm not saying
100%.
But I just, in terms of his impact from start to finish, from the bottom, literal bottom of the top 40 club's time to the top.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing that. And he used to carry us, but he's still playing so well now. And he's brought these guys along with him. He's brought them all along with him. Every single one of them. Weeders, Kerno, Harry. He believed in these blokes, stayed at the club.
Yeah.
And instilled belief in their minds. Imagine your captain re-signing for the club for 6 years.
Yeah.
When you're playing like shit. Really. It's a mentality shifter. And I think Michael Voss has a big part to play in that as well.
Yeah. You know, really well said, actually, Daf. That was actually quite, like, articulated very well, but I think it was a point that we don't really bring up enough, and I don't think enough Carlton supporters really bring it up enough in terms of how important this guy is. Like, I just got goosebumps there in terms of just the amount of shit he's had to go through as a Carlton player that we would never ever imagine. Like, we are in the supporter bracket of, like, we care about the club, but we're a supporter. But they're in it, controlling it, and they try so hard, and they're every day it's like not working, and they get smacked by 150 points there, and then like Cripps would have to get up every single Monday, put a smile on his face, heading to the media conferences as the captain of the footy club when he was under the coaches of like a Mick Moldhouse. I mean, he wasn't obviously the captain under Moldhouse, but I mean, he was still a player under Moldhouse and Brendan Bolton and David Teague, and then he would have had to front up a lot of shit when mentally he was like, is it really worth what I'm going through right now? And like, I think when he did sign that 6-year deal, I was like, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, that's that. And seriously, I'm glad you said that, because that may have been the turning point.
It starts the trend. Because now guys are taking less money.
Yeah.
To stay. He started it. He went, nah, I'll be on 750.
Yeah.
I'll be on 700. He's worth $1 million a year.
Oh, easily.
But he went, nah, I want to bring players in. I want to keep them. And you bring guys like, who we touched on before, Blake Acres. Bring in those types of players.
Yeah.
Because you got the salary cap. He wants to build the fucking team. He doesn't give a shit about himself.
Yeah, exactly right.
You know what I mean? It's a really, really good conversation to have. I know it's, going away from the game itself, but I think people need to fucking realise we cannot take this guy for granted.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you right now, whenever he retires, it'll be a fucking emotional day.
Yeah.
You see other legends of clubs, Buddy, and, it'll be Dusty probably this year or next year. Do not take these guys for granted, especially this guy.
Because, I mean, I obviously say to a girlfriend so much of how much I love Patrick. Like, God, like, why don't you, buddy, go marry him or something? And I'm like, but it's actually like you realize that it's a different type of love because this is the player that, like, I don't reckon any other player has made an impact on me as much as Patrick Cripps. Like Juddy, but that's when I was a young fella. Like
Yeah, exactly.
I cared about it,
Yeah,
but it didn't change my mood. Like a loss would change my mood for the weekend. I would head
yeah,
into tennis on the weekend or footy on the Sunday
yeah.
in a shitty mood because Carlton lost. I'd be like, Patto, what's going on? Like, Carlton lost. Who cares, man? I'm like, well, it's just shit. But
Yes.
you just head into a different, and then now it's like, wait, we can relate to Patrick Cripps.
Yep.
He speaks so well, and he speaks as a supporter, and he
Yep.
comes out and he speaks so well, and you're like,
Mm.
God, you love this guy. I think that was a really good conversation, and obviously it was a little bit off the game, but I think as soon as you mentioned, I think it was a good conversation to have overall because we have to give credit where it's due, and Patrick Cripps is definitely in the conversation for one of the best blue baggers to ever play the game. But let's now move on to our last segment, Daffy Boy, and so this is the thing that I was about to touch on before we press record on the episode, and so obviously we're speaking about Sam Walsh, unbelievable comeback as a whole. So 33 disposals, 13 tackles. 13 tackles.
13.
Imagine that if like Buddy BT or whoever was doing the game. Actually saying that, I had the Channel 7 commentary on mute. No. I can't wait until the SEN comes up.
Yep.
I can't. I don't know if it is available. Is it available?
There's an SEN sync.
Is it available though? Is that available?
Yeah, it's on the app. I think it's just an
That's
app.
available. Yeah, I might.
So people are starting to do that. I think I read some on Twitter the other day said it worked well. So yeah, they're terrible. They're terrible.
Yeah, that's another conversation, and we're not going to do that. Don't think it's worth it. But yeah, so 8 clearances, 15 contested possessions, 7 score involvements, 539 meters gained. Now, the thing I was about to touch on, Daffy Boy, about Sam Walsh, and it's a bit of it's out of sight of Sam Walsh. It's how Andrew Russell has managed Sam Walsh. Now, we speak about like, Adam Sard's getting his hamstring injury, Adam Chera's getting a hamstring injury, David Cunningham is getting a soft tissue, Jack Martin's getting a soft tissue, Jake Wiedering is somehow getting a calf, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of the players, and I don't know if we all remember, but this is one of the players in the preseason that we were actually extremely worried about.
Yep.
Now, he could have come back 2 or 3 weeks earlier, but Andrew Russell was the one guy that said, no.
Yep.
We are making sure that this guy gets 110% right. So when he comes back into this side, he is 100% ready to go out and do his job and try and be a part of the battle and try and beat another side and compete in the battle. Now, what's your thoughts on that, Daffy Boy? Like, I mean, obviously Andrew Russell is so important for our strength and conditioning, all of that. But hearing that, because I know that I think Fox Footy touched on it after the game and speaking about how important that was for Sam Walsh, because I know that he was in the interview after the game. He was doing an interview after the game and they spoke about that, and he couldn't speak highly enough for Andrew Russell. So what's your thoughts, obviously, on Sam Walsh's game and probably a 3 votes game tonight, if we're being honest? I mean, maybe, I don't know. There were a few players tonight, but also touching on Andrew Russell and what your thoughts are on all of that with Sam Walsh and the connection with Andrew Russell. What's your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I think it's a good point to bring up, actually. I think in terms of before the Walsh stuff and the injury, I think a lot of our injuries are just a little bit unlucky. And a lot of the injuries are coming from guys who have prior issues. And I don't think I think it's uncontrollable at some points. You know, Jack Martin, I don't think, what else can you do for guys like that? What else can you do for guys like Marchbank? What else can you do? You know what I mean? So, and like you said, how important to get him on the park and playing the way he is, because he was great tonight. And yeah, we're worried. You said it spot on. We were worried. There's always in the back of your head going, fuck, is he ever going to get to that potential we know he can? So it's really, really good to see. And he's backing up after 5-day breaks and stuff like that, which is really good to see. So Yeah, he was great tonight. Like you look at the stats as you touched on, geez, 13 tackles. And also a little stat for the tackles. We had 75 tackles for one hold of a ball, which is unbelievable. It's after all the hold the ball chat. They did fix it a few times actually tonight. The one we got, they actually fixed it. I think it might have been Farrell had the ball and he didn't drop it on his foot. He had the opportunity to drop it on his foot. They paid a free kick because he had the opportunity, which I really liked. There was a few they missed, but all in all, Walsh's game was fantastic, and it's good to see him and Cripps link up in the last quarter.
Yeah, Cripps and Walsh, man. Oh, we got like I think people forget how important and how good of a player Sam Walsh was before
Yeah.
his injury and is when
Yeah.
when he's back playing at his best. And tonight it shows. Oh, I think he's been good. He's been solid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this was his like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fucking Sam Walsh, man. Like he enters Adelaide Oval and I think he absolutely dominated and he's well and truly in the contention for our next segment, which is of course the bag of the game and the votes. So for the viewers who don't know what this is, we go through 3, 2, 1, like the Brownlow system, 3 players, 3 votes for the best player on the ground, 2 votes for the second best player on the ground, 1 vote for the third best player on the ground, and we're actually going to go through our leaderboard in the bye round. So
Yes.
after next week, so that's obviously Essendon next week, and through our bye round, we'll still do an episode and we'll touch on our bag of the game and go through the leaderboard. So I'm actually intrigued because we don't know where all the players stand, and we are doing it intentionally because we have no idea where everyone stands. So as soon as we actually do that leaderboard, it will be very interesting to see where everyone is. But Daffy boy, bagger of the game, 3, 2, 1. Who have you got for tonight?
There's a lot of guys. There's going to be guys who are left out who look great. So I'm not. It's really hard to narrow it down sometimes, especially after a great win like that. And like you said, a really convincing 4-quarter performance from the boys. So I'll start off. I think this might be his first vote of the season. No, 1 vote, Alex Chincotta. He's got a vote. He's got a vote. He's got a vote in the bag of the year. He's on the board. I'm not saying it's hard to get the 3-2-1. It's really hard because we don't. A lot of people do 5-4-3-2-1, but I feel like doing the 3.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good. It makes you think, and it also makes you sometimes think outside the box and get these guys in. Because I could have easily put Cripps. I could have easily put whoever ahead of Chincotta. So Chincotta 1 vote. Two votes. The guy we just touched on, Sam Walsh. I thought he was fantastic. Easily could have got the 3, but I think this guy had a 4-quarter performance and actually set the tone in the middle from the start. It was Tom DeConey, 3 votes.
Wow.
He's phenomenal tonight. Is he? I remember half a year ago, people going, "No, I just let him go to Geelong or Saints." What are you talking about?
Yeah.
He is a generational ruckman.
Yep.
And the way he went about it tonight, it's not even like he kicks the first goal, right? And what does a good player do? He fucking gets the next clearance. He sets the tone all game. He just battles hard. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to give him 3 votes. I thought he was fantastic. And I'm looking at the best on AFL.com. They've got him in there. So it's good to have someone, backing my view here. But I thought he was really, really good and set the tone for 4 quarters of footy. And with our bag of the year, I like to put someone else sometimes. Just in terms, it doesn't have to have 40 touches, but I thought his impact was enormous.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. I think we want to try and be fair for the votes. We don't want to put like a Dom McHugh into the votes. He didn't even play tonight. But I mean,
he was close. He was close.
He was close. He was pretty close. Like he played such a good VFL game last week, where maybe he could have been showcased in the votes tonight. But to touch on the clearances, then now it's actually an interesting conversation once again. So Jason Horton-Francis had 10 clearances, which is obviously the match high. Sam Walsh 8, and guess who was equal second with Sam Walsh?
Tom DeConey. He's phenomenal.
It's unbelievable. Like,
18
how
touches.
can our ruckman do that?
18 touches. And he allows us to score from the back half. That's the thing that's the one thing with Pitto.
Yes.
Not that link-up guy. He can't do that. So, I actually think tonight's game would have been perfect to have both. I think we would have absolutely slaughtered them. I reckon if you had both, he couldn't get picked tonight, Peter, so he couldn't play. But gee, your second ruck was Ollie Wines, Finlayson, and Dixon, right? And imagine if you had both of them. You know, there's going to be certain games where you do. So that's just my thinking. But tonight he was phenomenal, and that's why he had the 3 for me, Pato.
Yeah, no, I love that. Now I was just about to ask about the whole. So moving forward, like obviously Tom Conning is going to play every single game, hopefully, and whether that's with Mark Pitnet or Harry Mackay's that second ruck, who knows? But what did you think of Harry Mackay's performance tonight as a second ruck?
I thought he was okay. I don't think he needs to set the world alight, but I did like his link-up play. He's getting handball receives, Pato. He's 6'10". You know what I mean? That's the bonus with him in the middle, I think, at certain points. I don't think he's in there for his ruck craft. I think his ruck craft's better than it was, but I don't think he's in there to, I think he's just in there. TDK is going to take a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought she's Harry ended up with 3 and 17 touches. Fuck me. Shit. Just on Harry. But yeah, I thought his ruck work was meh. But fuck it, Pato. He's got TDK coming to the ruck. Harry has 18 touches and 3 goals. Couldn't really ask for more, could you?
Yeah, exactly right. Now I'm going to move on to my bagger of the game votes. And so I just want to touch on the 4. Well, I'll go with 3 players because I've got my 3 votes and my 2 votes set, but I just want to speak to you about the 1 vote. Unlucky, who I'm writing down as the unlucky to miss out is Zach Williams.
Yeah.
Tom DeConning, I don't have in my votes. I know. I was like, literally, he was my first in my 1 vote. And I'm like, nah.
There's so many. There's so
many. Now, the last person, Alex Chincotta as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to have him in. I was thinking about it as well. So I'm glad that you put him in.
Yeah.
Because I think just the credit that he, there needs to be some credit shown to him, and he was fantastic tonight. Now, what I was going to ask is Harry Mackay or Nick Newman as the 1 vote? Because Nick Newman was. Can I say one thing about the defense? We are so calm.
Yeah, I know.
We are so calm behind the footy now. Sometimes we're like a little bit too calm, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, just be a little bit more like." But just time, just stop.
Chip it around.
Yep. Cowan, like he had 7 touches, but doesn't matter now. I think he's in.
Yep.
I think he's found that role where it's the point of difference heading into the second half of the season where we don't usually have Lockie Cowan in that best 22, but I think he needs to play almost every game. If he keeps playing this way, and he had 7 touches tonight, but I don't think he'll be anywhere near potentially being dropped because he was just solid. And it's the second and third efforts. There was 1 passage of play through the middle. Yeah, the tap in the middle to I think it was to Owies or Fantastic. One of the 2. But he but I think it was like I think Ollie Wines and Jason Owen Francis were through the middle as well. Yeah. I don't care if you're Ollie Wines, Brownlow Metis, or Jason Owen Francis number 1 pick. Get the fuck out of my way. The moo is coming in. The moo. But yeah, all right. So I'll go with. What do you reckon you can choose for me?
No, this is your pick, mate.
Fuck. All right, I'll go Harry Mackay.
Okay, yeah, he was good.
Harry Mackay, man. Love you.
So Harry won, and who's your
Harry won. So Harry won. Paddy Cripps 2.
Yeah, see, he could have been in mine easily.
Sammy fucking Walsh 3.
Yeah.
Walshy. I'm going to go through. I mean, I think there's a bit of a new Bag and Chat favourite tonight, and it's Sam Walsh, but I'm just going to go through his stats again. 33 touches. 13 tackles again for probably the 84th time tonight. 8 clearances, 15 contested possessions, 7 score involvements, 539 metres gained. That's the last time I'll mention it.
Yeah.
But once again, 13 tackles. 13 tackles. That's all I'll say. But, yeah, I mean, overall, I think there was obviously a lot of players that we could have put into the votes tonight. But definitely, boy, before we wrap up the episode, is there anything else you would like to touch on from across there in Adelaide?
Yeah, I'm just happy with the job done. It was a risky last minute thing, but I just had confidence in this game. We both did. So credit to the boys. Have a 10-day break. Get to watch the Foxtel KO minis for the rest of the weekend, and I think I've got the mum's got the full game on. I can hear from the room now. She's sitting there just enjoying it. But yeah, no, really, really good. And I think I fly back tomorrow morning, so early. So anyway, I'll be happy with a win, and up the Blue Boys.
How about Kez already getting into watching the game? Absolutely love that. Shout out to Kez. I think that's a true Carlton supporter right there. Just at the ground, and then you're like, you know what? I'm gonna pour myself a glass of wine, and once again. Now I'm just gonna touch on one more thing before we wrap it up. So our match predictions. Both now you tipped 39, I've tipped 29.
Yeah, it's good.
Obviously, and I think it was quite close. I think it was looking like maybe the 29 point when we got that late goal, but obviously when we extended it to 36 points, and you obviously chose 39. I think that was probably the first time this year where the match predictions, both of our match predictions were quite close. So, no, definitely well said. And that was obviously the last segment we're going to touch on. But so obviously we have a 10-day break, so we're not too sure when we're going to do our preview episode for the Dons. We're probably going to have a bit of a break because we don't really want to do it too early. But obviously it's King's birthday the Monday after the one coming. So it's obviously on the Sunday night. So we're going to try and do the previews probably as soon as we possibly can, which is probably a good time. But we're going to try and soak in this win because I think it is definitely a statement win to hopefully set up the rest of the season. But to every single blue bagger out there, make sure to enjoy this win. Soak this in right now because this can be one of the statement wins for the rest of the season where if we do well in September, we can look back at this win and last week's win against Gold Coast, where this was the start of a bit of a rejuvenation once again. And it's not even been a crap season.
No, it hasn't.
I think just the standards of last year of how well we were playing that second half, but we are a good second half of the year team. We showed it last year, so let's just hope we can back it up this year as well. But to every single blue bagger, every single AFL supporter, every single sports supporter, every single person in this fucking planet, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. What was the one that I said last week that I didn't even know about? Google Podcasts. Google Podcasts. I didn't even know about. I got an email on the I was like, oh, we're a Google podcast, everybody. But yeah, so that's good to know. That's good to see. But obviously try and get around those podcast platforms, but also get around our social platforms. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and a lot more social platforms. So to you, Daffy boy, and to every single blue bagger out there, of the baggers.